All right, let's dive into another one. Today we're looking at AI. There's a lot of buzz right now around a new system called O3,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you sent me a couple articles about it from the conversation, right?
Yes.
Talked about how O3 did on this ARC AGI test,
Right.
which is meant to measure like general intelligence in AI.
Yes.
So I guess our mission today is to kind of unpack all this.
Yeah.
What is this test all about?
Mm-hmm.
What do O3 scores actually mean?
Yeah.
And what does it all tell us about the future of AI?
Yeah. It's definitely exciting, especially since we're not just talking about AI that can, write poems or generate images or things like we've seen before, right? This is about AI that can learn and solve problems in ways that seem a lot more human.
Right, exactly. And I think the key here is the difference between like the AI that we see in tools like ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
and this idea of like artificial general intelligence or AGI. Like ChatGPT is incredible, but it's trained on a massive amount of data
Yeah.
for
Tons.
very, very specific tasks.
Exactly. AGI isn't about being like a master of one thing.
Right.
It's about being able to learn and adapt to new situations,
Yeah.
solve problems you've never seen before,
Right.
with just a few examples to go on.
Okay, so that makes sense, and
Yeah.
that's where this ARC AGI test comes in, right?
Right. So the ARC AGI test
Yeah.
uses these puzzles with grids and shapes.
Okay.
Imagine like a grid with shapes on it, and then another grid where those shapes have moved or changed in some way.
Okay.
And the challenge is figuring out the pattern or the rule behind those changes.
Right.
But you only get to see like a handful of examples.
So kind of like those IQ test puzzles where you have to figure out the missing piece of a pattern.
It's testing the AI's ability to problem solve and generalize from very limited information. Not just rely on these massive data sets.
Right.
It's already memorized.
Okay.
And apparently O3 scored
Yeah.
really, really well.
Like really well.
Like really well.
They said 85%,
Right.
right? And that's on par with like the average human score,
That
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a significant leap from
Right.
what we've seen from other AI models.
Yeah.
And it has everyone asking, how did O3 do it?
Yeah.
And does this mean we're actually closer to AGI?
I was wondering that myself, like what makes O3 so
Mm-hmm.
so special?
So one idea is that it's really good at finding what are called weak rules.
Yeah.
And a weak rule is more flexible, right? It can be applied to a wider range of problems.
Okay.
Think of it like this. A specific rule is like a key that only works for one lock, right?
Okay.
But a weak rule is more like a master key that can open a lot of different locks.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe O3 is cracking these puzzles because it's finding those more adaptable. Yeah.
General rules.
Okay. Yeah.
And we also know that OpenAI took a slightly different approach
Yeah.
to training O3.
Okay.
So instead of training it for a specific task from the start,
Right.
they began with a more general purpose model and then kind of refined it for the ARC AGI test.
Okay, so it's like they gave it this broad base of knowledge first, and then kind of helped it specialize
Exactly.
in problem solving.
Yeah.
But even with these explanations, like I can't help but wonder, like is O3 actually thinking its way through these problems?
Right. That's where things get really mind-blowing.
Yeah.
There's speculation that O3 might be using something called chains of thought to find solutions. You might remember AlphaGo,
Yeah.
the AI that mastered the game of Go.
Right.
It didn't just, calculate every possible move.
Right.
It used chains of thought to simulate scenarios.
And pick the best path, almost like strategic thinking.
Right?
So some experts believe that O3 could be doing something similar with these puzzles.
So it's not just brute force calculation.
Yeah.
There's like a level of strategy
Yeah.
and decision making happening.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, so we've got this AI system that's breaking records on a test that's supposed to measure,
Yeah.
general intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some compelling theories about how it might be doing it.
Yeah.
But the big question is, does this actually mean we've achieved AGI?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
O3's performance is definitely impressive.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember
Yeah.
that OpenAI hasn't fully revealed how O3 works.
Right. Even if they did, like,
Even if they did,
is it enough to say we've...
still a lot more research needed before we can, confidently say we've reached true AGI.
We need to understand more than just how well it does on this specific test.
Mm-hmm.
We need to see if it can apply these skills to other
different types of problems.
Right. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that O3 really is a big step toward AGI.
Okay.
Like, what could that mean for us?
That's where things get really interesting and potentially a little scary, right?
Yeah.
Imagine AI that can learn and adapt as quickly as humans.
Yeah.
This could lead to, AI systems that are constantly improving themselves.
Right.
Getting smarter and more capable over time.
Yeah. That sounds exciting and a little intimidating.
It is both of those things.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're seeing so much debate around this right now.
Right. Well, before we go down that road too far, I want to make sure we understand a little bit more about how O3 might be working.
Okay.
So let's dive back into those chains of thought and heuristics.
Yeah.
Because that's where things start to feel really, really futuristic to me.
Okay. So we were talking about how O3 might be using something similar to what AlphaGo used to master the game of Go.
Yeah, and if I remember right, AlphaGo didn't just calculate all the possible moves, right? It actually simulated like different scenarios.
Yeah.
Kind of like thinking several steps ahead to figure out the best move to make.
Exactly, and that's what's so fascinating about this idea of chains of thought. It suggests that O3 might be doing more than just, crunching numbers. It could be evaluating different pathways, weighing potential outcomes, and making decisions based on those simulations.
So that sounds a lot like how humans think. Do we know if O3 is actually doing that?
It's still speculation at this point. OpenAI hasn't given us all the details about how O3 works, but the possibility is definitely intriguing, especially when you consider that O3 might also be using heuristics to guide its decision-making process.
Oh, remind me, what are heuristics again?
Heuristics are essentially mental shortcuts or rules of thumb. They help us make decisions quickly, even when we don't have all the information.
So instead of analyzing every single possibility, O3 might be using these mental shortcuts to narrow down the options and choose the most promising path.
Right.
But if O3 can simulate these chains of thought and use heuristics, does that mean it's actually thinking like a human?
That's a big question, and one that philosophers and scientists have been debating for years. I think it's important to remember that O3 is still a machine. It's following instructions and algorithms that were programmed by humans, but the fact that it can mimic certain aspects of human thought is a significant development.
Right. It makes you wonder, where do we draw the line between human intelligence and artificial intelligence? What makes O3's achievement so different from, say, a calculator quickly solving a complex equation?
That's a great point. I think the key difference lies in the ability to learn and adapt. A calculator can only solve the problems it's programmed to solve. But O3, at least based on its performance on the ARC AGI test, seems capable of learning new things and applying that knowledge to new situations.
Okay, so we have this AI system that's breaking records on an intelligence test, and we have some compelling theories about how it might be achieving these results. I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. What happens if O3 really is a major step towards AGI? What could that mean for the world?
That's where things start to get really interesting and potentially a little unsettling. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the impact on the job market. If we have AI that can learn and adapt as quickly as humans, what does that mean for jobs that require problem-solving, creativity, and those sorts of skills?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people are asking.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen articles speculating about everything from mass unemployment to the rise of entirely new industries we haven't even imagined yet.
Right. It's hard to predict exactly what will happen. Some experts believe that certain jobs will inevitably become automated, but others argue that AGI will create new opportunities and augment human capabilities. It's likely that the reality will be somewhere in between.
So it's not a simple case of robots taking over. It's more nuanced than that.
Definitely. It's about finding ways for humans and AI to work together effectively. I think a lot will depend on how we choose to develop and integrate this technology into society. If we focus on using AGI to enhance human capabilities and solve complex problems. The potential benefits are enormous, but if we're not careful, there are definitely risks involved as well.
What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, one concern is the potential for misuse. We need to think carefully about how to prevent AGI from being used for harmful purposes, whether it's autonomous weapon systems or surveillance technologies that erode privacy.
Right. And even if we can prevent intentional misuse, there's always the possibility of unintended consequences. What if an AGI system makes a decision that seems logical to it, but has a negative impact on humans?
That's a valid concern. We need to be thinking about how to align AGI with human values and make sure it understands the complex nuances of our world.
So we need safeguards in place, not just to prevent AGI from doing bad things, but also to make sure it's making decisions that benefit humanity.
Yeah.
But how do we even begin to do that? I mean, how do you teach a machine human values?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are actively working on. There are a lot of different approaches being explored, from incorporating ethical principles into the algorithms themselves to creating virtual environments where AGI can learn through trial and error.
So it's not just about the technical challenges of developing AGI, it's also about figuring out how to make it understand our world and make decisions that align with our values.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to have a broad and inclusive conversation about the implications of AGI. We need to make sure that we're considering the potential benefits and risks from all angles.
Well, this conversation has certainly been thought-provoking, and it sounds like we're just getting started.
There's still so much more to explore. For instance, O3's success on the ARC AGI test also raises questions about the future of AI research and development. What are the next steps in this field? What new tests and benchmarks do we need to create to measure progress towards AGI?
And what about the potential economic impact? I mean, if AGI becomes as widespread as some people predict, it could revolutionize entire industries, right?
Absolutely, and it's not just about the economic implications. AGI could also have a profound impact on our culture, our relationships, and even our sense of what it means to be human.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but it seems like we're just scratching the surface of this topic.
Indeed, I think we need to take a moment to digest all of this information and really consider the big picture.
You're right. This is a lot to take in. Let's take a quick moment to gather our thoughts, and we'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the world of AGI. I don't know about you, but I'm still processing all this, all the potential implications of O3 and this whole idea of artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
We've gone from, deciphering grid puzzles to contemplating the future of humanity.
It really is incredible to think that we might be on the cusp of such a major technological shift.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier about the economic implications of AGI.
Right.
We talked about how it could automate certain jobs, but it's not just about,
No, it's not just about job displacement.
job displacement.
It's about how AGI could reshape entire industries.
Yeah, and I was reading in one of the articles you sent about how AGI could revolutionize healthcare. Imagine AI that can analyze medical data,
Yeah.
diagnose diseases,
Right.
and even develop personalized treatment plans.
Exactly. And it's not just healthcare, right? We
Yeah.
could see similar transformations in education, finance,
Wow.
transportation, manufacturing.
Yeah.
Virtually every sector of the economy could be impacted by this.
Yeah, it sounds like it has the potential to make things more efficient and solve problems that we haven't been able to tackle before.
That's the optimistic view.
Right.
And it's certainly a possibility, but we also need to consider, the potential downsides.
Right.
What happens if the benefits of AGI are not distributed equally?
That's a good point, yeah.
Right.
We don't want to create a world where only a select few have access to the technology and its benefits.
We need to be thinking about how to ensure that AGI is developed and deployed in a way that benefits all of society, not just a privileged few.
And that kind of brings us back to those ethical considerations we were talking about earlier.
It does, yeah.
It's not just about building AGI.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making sure that it's used responsibly and ethically.
And that's a challenge that goes beyond just the realm of technology.
Yeah.
It requires collaboration between scientists, policymakers,
Right.
ethicists, the public.
It sounds like we need a whole new framework for thinking about AI and its role in society.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
We need to move beyond this narrow focus on task-specific AI and start thinking about the broader implications of AGI for humanity as a whole.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this journey towards understanding and shaping the future of AGI?
Well, I think one crucial step is continued research and development. We need to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AGI while also, being mindful of those potential risks.
Right. And we need to keep having these conversations.
We do.
Right? The more we talk about these issues, the better prepared we'll be to actually navigate them.
Absolutely. This is a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
Yeah.
Not just the experts in the field.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of starting that conversation today.
I hope so.
We've explored the technical aspects of O3's achievements. We've delved into the potential implications of AGI. We've even touched on some of the ethical considerations.
There's about.
Yeah, a lot to think about. As we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but think back to that initial question we posed. Does O3's performance on this test actually mean that we've achieved true artificial general intelligence?
And I think the answer is still maybe.
Yeah.
O3's achievement is remarkable.
Yeah.
But it's just one piece of the puzzle. We still have a lot to learn about AGI and even more to consider about its implications for humanity.
Well said. So as we sign off today, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay.
The future of AGI is not it's not predetermined. It's up to all of us to shape that future.
Yeah.
To ensure that this technology is used for good.
Right.
And that its benefits are shared by all.
Keep asking questions, stay informed, and be part of the conversation. The future of AGI is in our hands.
That's it for this deep dive into the world of AGI. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.